He is the head coach of UCLA football, longtime friend of the program, and just a good friend in general. Jim Mora here in Philadelphia. Good to see you, Coach.
Great to see you, Rich.
What do you think of when you think of NFL draft? What leaps to mind for you? From your
uncertainty, anxiety, some confusion in draft rooms, just all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes before Roger Goodell goes out and reads off that card. It's incredible.
Did you ever in your career, professional football, have a moment in that draft room where you're pounding the table and somebody's going back at you and the clock's ticking down? And did that ever happen?
Not when I was a head coach, but when I was with the San Diego Chargers, and Al Saunders was the head coach, and a guy named Steve Ortmeyer was the GM, and Spanos had just taken over. There was a power struggle going on. And it came down to the last 10 seconds of the first pick to decide who was going to have the power, because one of them wanted a guy named Rod Bernstein, and another one, a linebacker out of Stanford. I can't remember his name right now. And it was 10, 9, 8, and they were nose to nose yelling at each other.
Get out of here.
And Alex Spanos had to step in and go with Bernstein. So it was an incredible moment, because, you know, if the clock runs out on you, you're off the clock, and they can leapfrog you, the next team, and they could steal the guy that you essentially wanted.
Well, I heard, that happened with the Ravens and the Vikings a couple of years ago, where a pick didn't get in, and Jacksonville wound up drafting Byron Leftwich. I mean, that ended up happening.
Well, there's a lot of communication that's going on behind the scenes. So, let's say you're contemplating a trade. You're not only communicating with the team that you're making the trade with, but you have to get it cleared through the league. And that clock doesn't stop ticking. They don't put a hold button on it. And so you just have to make sure you're getting everything done. And these teams are going to take it to the very last second, because they want to make sure they're always making the best decision and the best deal for their organization. So sometimes it's tense. And then there's sometimes when you sit in that room and they say, hey, just hold your pick for a minute, because we need to get give TV a chance to talk about the last pick.
That happens.
Yeah.
I know that.
You know that.
I know that. We're
long-time host.
I know. I mean, I can't believe, by the way, this is my 12th one doing that.
I was on your set this morning. It's beautiful.
We're right there.
Yeah,
how about that they created on the steps there?
So awesome.
It is pretty
so
sweet.
Beautiful. So much fun.
And the story I tell all the time when fans are like, how in the world can the Browns not know who they're picking right now? I tell the story of your dad, when it was between Ryan Leaf and Peyton Manning. He said that they were grinding tape up until the last minute.
Yeah.
He and Polian.
Yeah, they were.
That thing, which is unbelievable.
Well, there was you're making an organizational decision that's going to affect, the long-term future of that organization. It's going to affect lives as well, you know, whether you keep a job or lose a job. So you've got to make sure that you've covered every single detail. And in that particular draft, there were some disagreements on some things that they had to get resolved before they made the pick. Because when you make a pick, the organization needs to make the pick. If it's the head coach's guy and not the general manager's guy, or vice versa, then you're not going to have success. You're not going to allow that player to have success, because the first time he fails, the head coach will say, I never wanted the guy. He was Rich Eisen's pick. Or if I wanted him, you didn't. The guy, Mora, he wanted him. I never wanted that guy. There's got to be synergy and cohesion. It has to be the pick of the Rich Eisen show, not the GM or the head coach.
There's really, I understand I'm at the top of the flow chart here, Jim,
yes.
And I understand that I have a certain responsibility, certainly when I'm surrounded by talent. Like these guys right here.
Talent, yes.
I
would agree with that. It's a good assessment.
Good-looking guys.
Great word.
Yes.
Radio is great
Jim.
for you guys.
Perfect.
And yet they're part of a television simulcast mostly.
I know, but in that studio, they're
it's a polished turd in that studio, is what you're saying? Wow. I don't want to really put
I love
words
these
in your
guys.
mouth. Wow.
I know.
Thanks.
I'm never going to be able to come back on the show.
No, it's
Thanks,
okay.
Coach Fisher. I mean, it's great
No,
to see you here.
No, that was last hour.
That's my bad.
I'm with Jim Mora here on the Rich Eisen Show. So, Tack McKinley, are you going to be with him in the green room tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am.
All
I'm
right.
excited about it.
Well, it's a different situation this year. When you were in the green room last year with
I hope
Miles
so.
Jack. Well, I mean, there's not. I mean, what are the concerns for Tack McKinley that you think that you're hearing, or the strengths that you've been talking up to scouts when they've been calling you about him?
Not really a lot of concerns. There was concern about his shoulder, but that's fixed, and he went back to Indy for the recheck, and he's going to be fine. There really are no red flags on Tack. It was interesting last year with Miles is flying in here. When I landed, I got a call from Gus Bradley, who's the head coach at Jacksonville, and he said, Jim, we want him bad. We can't take him with the 5th pick. And I had to kind of, tell Miles that. And Miles, that's what he was expecting, to go 5th to Jacksonville, kind of break the news to him, and then try to prepare him for the fact that we don't know how far you're going to fall. Unfortunately, your agent puts you in a position to do an interview where you released the information that your knee was injured, and now everybody's climbing on that, and it's going to affect their decisions. I mean, you're spooking them. And it did. And it was horrible to sit there with him for 4 hours or whatever. I'm hoping that this year we don't relive that at all.
Yeah, and I remember that's when Miles started dunking basketballs and putting it out on Instagram to say, see how I'm doing. And yet here we are now, a year later, and he's great. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't had any of those medical issues that have cropped up.
The issue with Miles is they were worried about his long-term health. And I can understand that from their perspective, but I've known Miles since he's about 12 years old, and there's nothing to worry about with this kid. He's unbelievable. He's strong. He's physical. He's determined. He's a great kid. And same with Tack. I don't know if you know Tack's story, his background, what he comes from, where he came from, what he overcame.
Go for it.
Grew up in Richmond. Never knew his father. His mother died when he was young. Was raised by his grandmother. Made a promise to his grandmother that he'd go D1, that he would get drafted, that he'd create a career for himself in the NFL. Just before she closed her eyes for the last time, he made that vow to her.
Gosh.
Had to go to a junior college. We got him to UCLA. He excelled on the field, off the field, in the community. He's a guy that never gets in any trouble. He always says the right things because he believes the right things. I saw him on a special they did the other day, and a lot of kids think, hey, I finally made it because I got drafted. And Tack says, this is just the beginning for me. And I mean, it's that attitude that I think teams love. The fact that he's overcome adversity, they love. The fact that he's played through pain and injury. He never missed practice. He never missed games. He would not come out. He played 2 years with a torn labrum just because he refused to get surgery because he didn't want to miss a rep. That's the kind of guy. He's a warrior. That's who you want on your team.
Do you think Perkins can carry the ball for the Giants as a bell cow? What do you think?
I don't know that there's many backs right now in the NFL that can just be the guy. It's tough. I mean, you're taking a pounding, but I think that he's built himself up. I saw him on campus a few weeks ago. He's gained weight. He's gained bulk, strength. So we'll see. I hope he can. I mean, I love the kid. I hope he can.
Well, I'm with Jim Mora of UCLA here.
That was an interesting segue, by the way. Well, Tack to Perkins.
I want to talk about.
You're throwing me off here.
Well, no, Jim. There's no curveballs here. I just fire straight. But what I am hearing, and I'm sure you are as well, because you're well attuned to this stuff, is that maybe the Browns and others who are quarterback needy shouldn't take one this year because Josh Rosen is most likely going to be in this draft.
Who said most likely? Now,
in the draft next year.
I don't know about that, Rich. I think that I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I think right now Josh is just focusing on having a great junior year, and I've really sensed that from him, that he's not thinking about this time next year. He's fully focused on what's going to happen in the next few months with UCLA football. And if he's ready, if he proves that he's ready, if he's got the skill set, the work ethic, the mindset, the attitude, the fundamentals, then we're going to wish him well and encourage him. But if he needs some more work, then, we're going to encourage him to stay. The one thing about NFL quarterbacks is if you're going to be a first-round pick, you need to be prepared to play in the NFL. You can't be a project guy. And the only way you're prepared to play is you play more reps, you get more snaps, you play more games. The only way you play more games is you come back for your 4th year if you're Josh Rosen. So,
okay.
You like that?
Well, what you hear as well, is that Josh is already maybe has his mind.
He doesn't.
He does not in the NFL.
No,
okay.
No, he does not.
What do you do to make sure that he doesn't?
I'm not. You know what, Rich? I just want this kid to have a great season. I hope that at the end of the year that it is a major topic of discussion all across the country, because that means UCLA football has had success, and that means Josh Rosen has had success. So I hope that we're talking about this in the El Segundo studio.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, next year.
And a lot of that success will be born out of the practices soon to come in Westwood with my alma mater. Is that a true story? Or
we are going to have a camp with Michigan's going to send some of their coaches out. Harbaugh's coming out, and we're going to do a combined camp with Michigan. It's going to be fun.
How may I be a part of this to help out the programs?
Well, we talked about this, and we're going to ask you to come over and maybe give a little talk to some of the players.
Okay. Well,
maybe MC a couple things.
Okay.
There's an educational component you have to have in any part of your camp, and maybe we could talk to them about their responsibilities with the media.
Okay.
How to conduct themselves in interviews, things like that. I think that would be really great for you and your own gym. And
I would love to do that.
That'd be great.
Harbaugh had me speak to the team last year.
I know. I follow your Twitter, and I got to see it.
Oh, yeah. Brockman was there. You said I blacked out, though, right?
You definitely blacked out in the middle of it, although I will say it was pretty good. I was fired up.
Really?
I was fired
ready
up.
to run through a wall?
I was ready to run through a cardboard box.
Well, speaking of running through things, when I got into the cockpit with Mario Andretti, the one who was in just before me, you, sir.
How'd you like that?
I didn't.
You didn't?
So much. I mean,
oh man, I thought it was awesome.
Well,
how about that when they would decelerate to go into those turns?
I got to tell you, I'm not are you a roller coaster guy? Do you like roller coasters?
Not really, but I liked Mario Andretti.
Okay, well, roller coasters. I'm not good at stomach dropping.
Yeah.
The feeling of the stomach dropping. I've never had a feeling of stomach pushed against the spine before. That was the first time I've ever had that feeling. And when we went from 0 to whatever the hell it was, I thought to myself, this is going to be the longest 2 minutes of my life. And then I started getting into it a little bit,
Yeah.
But I wished that I would do it in an oval. You know what I'm saying?
I've done that.
This is better? The road course is better?
Yeah, it's scarier. Now, see, when we took off,
scary.
When we pulled out of the pits,
right.
I had my head turned at just a little bit to the right.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it back facing forward until we got back into the pits because of the G-force. I was stuck like this. It was awesome.
Well, Graham Rahal was there.
Yeah.
Gave me a tip before saying that don't bang your head. Keep your head, you really use your neck muscles because your head could bang in front of you or behind you or to either side. So I had that one going for me. But the fact that we were stopping and starting and going from 100 whatever the hell to
170.
Yeah, I did it 2 years earlier, and it was terrifying. The fact that we were inches from the wall, I thought my life was over. It's a 75-year-old man driving.
Can you imagine
thing.
doing that with other cars next to you or in front of you?
Right.
No way.
You're 6 inches away from each other at 130
streets
miles
of
an hour?
Monaco?
Yeah, don't think so.
Well, I mean, true.
Or Long Beach.
Long Beach.
It's the
Long
same
Beach.
straight
Yeah.
course.
I mean, Mario Andretti seemed to have fun doing that too.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
70, by the way, 70 years old.
Yeah, that's why I would never do it again.
Oh my gosh! But you enjoyed it.
I did. I loved it.
And you say you're not a roller coaster guy, though, right?
No, I like that. I don't think you can die on a roller coaster. You could die on. I like thrill seeker. I want that element where you're right on the edge. There's a potential that disaster could strike, but it doesn't.
Well, Coach, we got a window washer outside our building here. Where we're at, who's about 70 stories up at the building next to us.
It's terrifying.
By the way, you also described what the NFL draft for some might be as well.
No kidding.
I mean, it is just it's one of the most unique events. And what is it like now for you on the other side? Because I'm sure when you were a coach calling up college coaches trying to find stuff out, now you're on the other side of it. What is that experience like for you now that you're on the other side?
Much more fun.
I bet.
I was in 26 or 27 draft rooms, taking players and, trying to find information. Now I'm answering calls from guys and able to talk about the players that I have had the ability to coach, the guys that I've been able to have an influence on. It's amazing to be able to kind of, I don't want to say sell them, but present their strengths and weaknesses and their character to, the NFL decision makers. And I think that the fact that I did it for so long, gives me some credibility. When I say, hey, this guy, he can play. He has what it takes.
Right.
And I get a lot of those calls. But draft day is awesome as a college coach because you're seeing these young men that you recruited out of high school. You've known these kids sometimes since they were sophomores in high school, and you've kind of lived this dream with them, and you've seen them grow up and become not only good players, but go from being kids to men. And here they are on a day like today about to fulfill their dream. And you just feel like you're part of it. And I mean, you get tears in your eyes, you get goosebumps. The first year I was at UCLA and Dayton Jones was drafted 28th by Green Bay. My son and Trey and I, we ran around the house like idiots, like fools. I was crying. He was crying because he loved Dayton, you know. Shannon's like, what are you guys doing, you clowns? You don't understand.
Right.
Just Dayton just got drafted. Dayton was never supposed to graduate from UCLA, let alone play. He's a graduate of UCLA and a first-round pick. It's awesome.
And last one for you. How's your dad?
He's great. He came to practice last week. I got a Tuesday night download. I guess we did okay. Yeah. I thought it was a good practice. Tuesday it was confirmed that it was a good practice.
Okay. So is he still playing golf? Is he still out there?
3-4 days a week.
Okay. Going to movies? Going to movies?
Yeah. Did you have him on the? Did you guys do an Oscar show?
No, we didn't do one this year. No, because it was right after the combine. It just didn't work out.
Okay. Yeah. He sees every movie. Loves movies. He's doing well. He's healthy. He's going to be 83.
Wow.
At the end of May. You'd never know it.
Well, I would love to do what you just asked me to do.
We've talked about it already, and we're doing it. June 11th.
If you do want me to do a seminar on how to deal with the press,
yeah, I do.
I want to do it with your dad.
That'd be great. We could play some of his clips. This is how you don't do it.
Please.
You don't say coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Please.
You don't say diddly poo.
Right.
You don't say you
never know.
You think you know, but
you'll never know.
And you never will.
You never will.
Please, me and your
playoffs.
dad.
You don't say playoffs.
Me and your dad for
That'd
that
be great.
seminar.
Now, here's the deal.
Yes.
You have to make me a promise.
Okay.
If you come to UCLA to do this, you're not wearing a Michigan hat. We can make a hat for you that says UCLA M or something.
UCL Michigan. Something like that? No?
We'll see, yeah.
Contract negotiations.
One thing we know is you'll be wearing blue. You'll be wearing blue.
Yes, exactly.
You'll be wearing blue.
And well, I mean, we call it maize, but you're gold.
What is maize? There's yellow and there's gold. I don't think anyone knows what maize is.
It's highfalutin yellow is what it is. Okay.
Yeah, you see where the Pope got a helmet?
And shoes, and he blessed them.
Yeah. And bless
That's what Jim said.
Well, of course Jim said that. He can say whatever he wants. He's in Rome. No one even speaks English where he is.
Jim Moore, everybody.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.